getting it, fella. Look here.
Stand by.
One for C-Lab, two for Troy Eagle, three for Wolverine to round out the trio. In this episode, everybody dies.
Broadcasting live from Arrakis. This is the Blah. In this episode, everybody dies. I'm your host, Kevin, along with my space friends, Head in a Jar Higo, Ben.
Ahoy.
And Sea Chad Forever.
What's up?
Welcome to the show, folks. This week, we're talking about the 2024 classic, Dune Part Two. Continuation of our Dune Part One show from whenever the hell that was.
A couple years ago.
Was it a couple years ago already?
Yeah.
God, time be flying, man.
Time is a flat circle.
Anyway, yeah, we're talking about Dune Part Two. We're excited. I'm excited. I'm sure everybody's excited. Let's go. High level, what's up? Yo.
Take it away.
Take it away.
Time is an illusion. Lunchtime, doubly so.
I should have started the show the proper way, dude, because since we're doing Dune.
Do it. Oh, you mean like...
Dude,
that was a pretty good Sardukar chant there, bro.
Right?
I think the best thing to come out of these movies is the Sardukar memes.
What? I haven't seen any of those.
There's all kinds of Sardukar memes, dude.
Is there a "Do you even lift, bro" Sardukar meme?
Probably. Probably. What'd you guys think, man?
Funny,
Hit me. Hit me, baby. One more time.
Oh. You want me to go first?
Whatever. Go for it.
It's called Spice Melange. It's a drug snack from Arrakis.
It's just more of the first movie that we loved. Like, it's just great. It's great to finally see the conclusion of it. I just watched the first one recently, like we talked about last week, Chad, and it was fantastic. I honestly, I don't know the source material as well as you guys do. I've only read the books once, and I didn't get through the whole series because, as I've said before on the show, for the listeners, I actually started, Jarhigo and I had a discussion about this many years ago, and I started with the prequel books to go chronologically.
Oh.
So I did like the Butlerian Jihad and like the Cymax and all that kind of shit, and or whatever they were called, and I went that route. So by the time I got to God Emperor of Dune, like the third or the fourth book, like I just literally was like, I have no fucking idea what's going on. It was so confusing, and I put it down and I never picked it up again. So I don't remember the first book, and I was wishing that I had, and I think I'm going to read it again.
I was wishing that I hadn't, so you probably did fine.
Well, I don't know. I just couldn't remember, like, in this movie, you know, obviously there's a lot of differences from the Lynch movies, so
yeah.
I kind of know that more than the books, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it was great. I loved it, man. I loved every minute of it, dude. I just wanted more of it. I was like, all right, next part, let's go.
Hop to it.
You know? Yeah, I'll leave it there. I'm sure you guys felt similar.
Where did you go, Benny?
I fucking hated it. No, I'm just kidding.
You son of a bitch.
There was definitely more of what I wanted out of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
You know, I've kind of been stewing over it for the past week, and yeah, I think it was good. You know, I came to realize that there was some stuff that was sort of glaringly missing that didn't necessarily notice at the time, but in retrospect, I'm like, oh yeah, wow, you just kind of skipped that.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had a great time watching it. Who knows what I'll think of it in like 5 years? But
yeah,
oh boy,
you know, maybe like a Lord of the Rings situation. I don't know.
I doubt that.
For the moment, I had a good time.
It is in your favor.
Word.
Chad. Chad, are you going to tell us how much you hated it now?
I didn't hate it. It was solid, man. It was really solid. I think, like, I just wish I could delete the books from my brain and watch it, because I couldn't get out of my own head. And it didn't make for a bad viewing at all. Like, it was a feast visually and auditorily. Like, it was just fucking a feast, man. It was like all you could ask for in sci-fi, blow your fucking face off, visuals and, rumbling seats and stuff.
Sure.
But it's just the, like, they missed this bit, or my head would say that, and I'd just be like, shut the fuck up, dude. I'm trying to watch a movie. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
And I guess just like my when I walked out, I like sat in the car and just like voice noted and transcribed my initial thoughts just to kind of like try and capture it before I saw everybody's opinions of it and shit. And it was just like, my initial feeling was that it was solid and it's not possible to adapt anything at all. No. Other than like a remix style. Like I just found myself like, like a Blade Runner 2049 is a remix of Blade Runner. Like, it's a very crude way to put it, but like it's kind of a new thing. It's not an adaptation, and I just like, if you know the source material, it's going to be almost impossible to ever capture it. So like, I end up in that same spot again. But it's not Villeneuve's fault. It's not the attempt at Bat's fault. It's just like hard to get it out of my head, I guess.
Well, it's the medium's fault too, man.
You're that too.
From a print only to a film that has multiple dimensions. It's never going to happen, and we know that. Yeah.
But I mean, aside from that neckbeardery, it was fucking solid as, dude. Like, it was just. Right. I happened to go to. We don't have IMAX over here, unfortunately. I would have loved to have seen it in IMAX, but the theater I went to had just like epic sound, and like fucking body shaking sound, and that was pretty immersive for stuff like the sandworm scenes and stuff. So it was really enjoyable. And the cast is fucking rock solid, and I don't know, the visuals and what they did was rock solid. The special effects, like, you can't even really tell they're special effects, unlike a fucking stupid fly around like a Bumblebee fucking 360 camera Marvel Cinematic Universe bullshit fest. It was like much more grounded in reality, even though it's not reality, like it was fucking high fives for so much of it. But I think you said, a minute ago, Benny, like, I'm curious how I'll feel in 5 years. And I feel like the only way I'm going to form an opinion about this is over the next 10 years watching it 10 more times. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's one that's going to settle in like Empire Strikes Back, or I don't know, like the opinion changes over time for the better. Whereas like the opinion changed over time for the worse for me for Lord of the Rings, so. I'm optimistic. I'll love this more and more as time goes on. I hope that's the case, and it was fucking solid.
So I was extremely optimistic when I left the theater, and then over the week I've seen like reviews that are like, this blows away every other, like, Empire Strikes Back, like this, like that. Was like, whoa, guys.
Yeah, slow down, guys.
Whoa, well, curb your fucking enthusiasm. Like, relax.
Yeah. No, I was the same. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Like, it ticked the boxes. It gave me a lot of what I was, like I said, is
craving.
What I was sort of craving from the first movie, but didn't get just by the nature of that part of the story. It's just sort of an opening. So this kind of like, the fucking faucet opened up, the tap opened up fucking fire hose wide and blasted me out of my seat. There's definitely a lot to take in.
It really was.
But, let's not go straight for the top shelf,
Yeah. It's not. There are definitely multiple people that were like, this is the best sci-fi movie ever made. It's better than fucking Star Wars. It's better than Empire. It's better than anything ever. And it was just like, nope. That's a big negative, good buddy, but it's pretty solid.
It's really good. Yeah.
I don't really want to compare them. I don't want to compare movies like that. I don't really think that that's time well spent anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
no, there's room for all of it.
Those Star Wars movies are great.
There's room for all of it, even Space Truckers,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, exactly, man. But it's like you can take like Benny, you and I went on about, fucking Ladyhawke and Enemy Mine last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I would put up on a shelf Enemy Mine, great sci-fi movie from the 80s, The Matrix, the first one, obviously, great sci-fi movie from the end of the 90s, Empire Strikes Back, and this. And they're all great. And they're all equally great in their own ways. And they all occupy their own spaces, man. And that's fine. I don't want everything to be the same, nor do I want to compare everything.
Yeah.
You know
Everyone's into the comparison stuff now. Like I was cracking a joke about me because of the algo, which I'm getting tired of. But there's tons of people now doing that, like A, B, C, D, E, F, and S tier shit now. You know, like
yeah, whatever.
So I feel like I watched all of these YouTube videos where people were saying it was the greatest thing since sliced fucking bread or whatever, and just came to understand one kind of uninteresting thing, which was just like the only way to get views on YouTube is to be fucking way out
stupid
on the fringes. You know, like hamming it up and saying it's the greatest thing ever is going to get you the views. It doesn't mean it's what you actually fucking think. And then so that's kind of not interesting. It's just stupid YouTube bullshit. But the thing that I thought was kind of interesting was there's a bunch of people that were saying that they were never old enough to experience a blockbuster like this. You know, the only thing they've ever seen is MCU style movies. They weren't around for Lord of the Rings. They weren't around for the Star Wars prequels. Like they were too young. And so like that was interesting because, you know, that would definitely be a different perspective compared to like us, you know. I never saw any of the Star Wars in the theater because I was too young, and I imagine you guys probably caught some of it, if not all of it, in the theater back in the day. But
all of it.
So many of the kids these days haven't. They weren't even around for fucking, you know, Harry Potter. You know what I mean? Which I'm not a huge fan of. But like,
they're still good movies, though.
You know, all these 20-year-olds just weren't even fucking old enough for that shit. Ugh. So they're pumped on it for that reason, and that's interesting. But it also, you know, I tend to disagree with the opinion that they're chucking out of it being the best thing since sliced bread. You know, so.
Well, they're young and stupid.
May well be the best thing for them. You know?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, there's that too, man. Exactly. You know, I think, that's interesting for sure, man. Just to jump back to something that Ben said, he said that it was everything that he wanted to see, and there was a lot to take in. And I wanted to add to that too. And then yet, you were like yearning for more somehow at the same time.
Yeah.
Like it's exactly what I said. I think I texted you guys when I got out. I don't know if I was the first one to watch it last week, but I said, it's gorgeous, a lot to take in. And there was, and you know, it's like, it's hard to absorb all that. And then I was still just like, I know there's some shit in here that probably wasn't in here. Right. But I don't know the source material well enough. And I just want to see more. I just want more. It's so goddamn good. And that's a great compliment to Denis, you know, like, you just want more of it because it's so gorgeous to watch, man, and the sound was so great, and just the way that they structured everything was just excellent, man, you know. I would like to, not in like a hate fest kind of way, but can we talk about things that were not in there? So these
plot
two
points
films
that were missing?
Yeah, these two films encompass the first book, right? And we know we're not going to get everything because they're movies.
Because you can't.
But we still got nearly 6 hours worth of material here. What did we miss? I guess, Chad, since your brain was clearly on overdrive.
Well, let's round robin it. I think, like.
Okay, well, between the two of you, because I don't really know, and I got to get some water. Hang on 1 second.
Yeah, you do.
You know what it was, dude? Seriously, doing that Sardukar thing a few minutes ago, like, fucked my throat. So I'm like, it fucking hurts right now. Hang on.
Dude.
That is staying in the show. I love that. So, yeah, like, I think it's not a gripe sesh for me here because I am fully recognizing of the fact that you can't have it all. Like, if you had it all, it would probably, the pacing would be horrible, I think. Because you pick up and put down a book. You can't just sit there for 10 hours, you know, absorbing every little fucking nuance in a movie theater. I mean, you could make the argument that as a show you could do it, but whatever. That's a different conversation. I think, like, plot points that were drastically different or missing, the first thing that comes to mind we talked about in the first one, which is just Toofer and Peter DeVries. Like, I get why they cut both of them, but I wish they didn't. You know, like, the actors that played them were awesome. Yeah, Toofer Howard and Peter DeVries. Like, or Piter or whatever. Piter, he wasn't even in the fucking first movie much, and then he's dead. So then I was like, okay, well, he's dead. That sucks. I hope they do some shit with Thufir Hawat because, he plays a piece where he ends up joining the Harkonnens and kind of like is their prisoner mentat, and kind of works it from the inside and kind of
I remember that
helps kind of make everything go Paul's way, or is at least trying to destroy the House Harkonnen from the inside. So like that's kind of gripey because you can totally get why they cut it, but that's an example, for example.
Sure.
Well, okay, but my take on that is I didn't really think about it when I was watching the movie, but after it occurred to me that he was completely missing from the second movie, and as far as we know, he, in the story, he's still alive. So I presume he was still alive, but they just decided not to spend any time on that whatsoever.
That's it. And just before we started recording, I saw that they did some scenes with him that got cut, so...
Yeah, and then hearing about it afterwards, it's like Denis Villeneuve being fucking Peter Jackson. Oh, well, I wanted to focus on the Bene Gesserit, so...
Yeah.
Fuck the guild and, fuck the mentats. Like,
I kind of get it, though. Unlike, I think Peter Jackson's failure was that he's like, I hate magic. And it's like, dude, it's a fucking book about fucking magic. Like,
hello.
It's a little different with Villeneuve.
Yeah, but it's
Villeneuve's
similar.
like, I can't focus on 5 things. I'm going to focus on one thing. So I kind of get that. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I don't know, man. I think, I'm not, again, I thought the movie was great, but like, they could have, like, I don't know, cut a couple of the, like, non-pivotal, like, battle scenes to make room for
a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit of something, like, there was a whole lot of Paul in the desert fucking blowing shit up, which was, a couple of those were, like, epic and amazing and part of what I really wanted to see in the first movie.
Yeah, hang on one second.
I wanted to see more of in the first movie.
That's all right. Keep going, Ben.
But, there was a lot of it. So I feel like they could have like truncated a bit of that to shoehorn in some of the stuff that was, shoehorn a little, shoehorn a little Thufir Hawat in there,
Yeah. Or like this, like you said, like the Spacing Guild and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a little bit to kind of get, lay out the scope, cause like, they give that little text scroll at the beginning of the first one, but
sorry,
in the Lynch one and then the book you get that, or certainly in the Lynch one rather, you get that little tidbit of like the guild navigator and you're like, the fuck, dude, you know what I mean? So you can kind of
also
at least get a sense of that. Go ahead.
The movie was already fucking 2 hours and 46 minutes long. Like, what's a fart when you already shit your pants? Like,
exactly.
Put fucking 15 more minutes in it. Like, who fucking cares? Like, what's the fuck?
Exactly.
Like, seriously? Were the fucking, were the studio stooges? Like, no, absolutely not. You can not have 10 more minutes. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Well, they may have.
No, it was Villeneuve. I watched a bunch of interviews and stuff, and he was like, there was some interesting stuff where he was talking about the inspiration, or not inspiration, but like some of the movies that influenced him here, and one of the things which was kind of tongue-in-cheek but kind of not was Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner, which was like, but it was just like the pacing. Like, I think he went kind of more action-y here, which was kind of a little bit more of the leaning on the battle scenes and stuff, and chose to keep it trim. So it was an artistic choice.
Sure.
Yeah. Well.
Wow.
That's just like your opinion, man.
For instance, I found out that like Tim Blake Nelson had like a whole part.
Oh, as Count Fenring.
That's what people suspect.
Yeah.
And
we never got to see any of it.
So we never got to see that.
It's a shame that Count Fenring was missing.
I mean, yeah. Just spend 5 minutes on that and 5 minutes on fucking Thufir Hawat, and then the movie's
that's good enough.
2 hours and 56 minutes long. Like, what's the fucking big deal?
Yeah.
Seriously, what's the big fucking deal? It's already almost 3 hours long. Like, is somebody literally going to complain because like there were 10 more minutes? Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
That this is where like things. I'm griping a bit here, and don't get me wrong. I did love the film,
no, it's all good, man. That's why I asked the question, man. I wanted to hear how you guys felt, and Because like me, I'm like blissfully ignorant. You know what I mean? I don't remember the book well enough. You know,
Yeah.
The thing I know the most is the Lynch movie. You know what I mean? Which is
quite different.
And I just looked that up. That's 2 hours and 35 minutes long, which is almost as long, and it's kind of encompasses both of these movies. You know, so story wise, but you know, there were still things that he threw in there that were not in there in these movies. It's interesting. Who is Count Fenring again, Ben? Remind me who that was.
Well, they included Lady Fenring in this.
Yeah, Leah Seydoux.
Count Fenring was her husband, you know, sort of another attempt at the Kwisatz Haderach, but he was sterile.
Yeah, he failed.
Oh, right.
Sort of a rival to Paul, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Fade, Paul, and Count Fenring were all three attempts at the Kwisatz Haderach. Like Paul was meant to be female. Jessica was meant to have a female child, and that female child was meant to be paired with Fade genetically, and that was meant to be the Kwisatz Haderach. So,
wow, interesting.
But here we are.
Cool. Yeah, here we are, man. Wow. So what else? So no Count Fenring. I definitely agree that like not enough Piter, not enough Thufir. Like I was like. No Thufir in this, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like Piter was in it for like 2
Another thing that we talked about in the first movie, or I did at least, that I was like, they better not fucking skip it. Was the friend of Jamis scene, which is completely missing. Which I get, I get it, but you know, the movie ends with the Jamis fight in the first film, and then. What's missing is the friend of Jamis scene where it's like Paul coming to terms with killing the guy and the Fremen, you know, seeing him give water for the dead, which was a great scene in the book. So that was missing. And then similarly,
Jessica.
What's that?
They change it to Jessica crying over the, you know, seeing their cisterns and realizing that it's, you know, millions of dead.
Yeah. And then similarly, there's like, you know, Paul takes a wife. He ends up having to look out. He ends up either having to take Jamis's wife as his wife or as his like servant. So he's responsible for that and Jamis's 2 children, 2 boys, which I get why they cut. And then the water rings. I think the water ring scene is tied to that too, where like they take Jamis's currency, which is these the currency in the Fremen culture are water rings. So he takes the water rings out of Jamis's, you know, whatever hair or whatever, and then gives them to Paul. And Paul says, "Can you hold on to these for me?" to Chani, and he doesn't realize that's like a courting ritual. So like it's kind of a lighter moment. So there's like little moments like that, which I totally get why they cut them, but they're just like intentionally dying here, delightful moments. You know, like they're just really great bits of the book and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, like you got to pick your battles, man. You got to pick what you're gonna.
That's it.
Focus on. It's unfortunate, but you got to.
Yeah, I was going to say. Then again, almost nothing is done exactly like the book does.
Yeah. There's some pretty big changes too. Like Stilgar's character and the levity and humor is a big change. Chani's a big change. Jessica's a big change. Like I think kind of for the better, but they're very, very, very different.
How so, Chad?
Well, I mean, Stilgar's much more stoic and not a fervent believer in the kind of prophecy stuff. Like he's not a fanatic. They really leaned heavily on the religious fanaticism, which I appreciated. So he's just not a fanatic in the book at all.
In the book, you mean?
Yeah. He's not a fanatic at all, and he's a very hardcore practitioner of the Fremen ways, and he gets really upset when Paul refuses to fight him and kill him and become leader, because he thinks Paul is strong enough to become leader and therefore should be, but then, Paul says something to the effect of, "I'm not going to cut off my hand,"
Mm-hmm.
And then convinces them to change their ways. Like it's a much more subtle and much less religiously fundamentalistic or whatever. But I think it's for the better here.
I do too.
And he was funny. He had some funny moments.
He did. Oh my God. He was very funny, actually. Like I really like he had this thing, not so much in the first one, but like, in this one, they talk about the Lisan al Gaib so much in this. And like, this funny thing developed. You know, I mean, I know it wasn't intentionally funny, but like it was funny to me. Like as the movie progressed, it kept ramping up. Is that every time like Paul would do something,
he'd take a shit and he'd be like, "Lisan al-Gaib."
Exactly. He was like, Lisan al-Gaib. And he'd be like this excited kid, dude, who's like, dude, the ice cream truck's here. You know what I mean? Like it was fucking great, dude. I loved that, man. You know, I love that.
Fucking Tresspass.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, everybody, the Lisan al-Gaib.
It's the Lisan al-Gaib.
Totally, man.
Totally, man. That little scene. That little scene where Paul's like, I'm not the Lisan al-Gaib, and then he's like huddled with his buddies, you know, and he's like, he's so humble. The Lisan al-Gaib would totally do that, you know. And they're like, oh,
yeah, right.
It's so funny, man.
Yeah, it was.
He was very Gimli-esque, you know, like that little, like Gimli was not a funny character in the Lord of the Rings books, but Jackson made him a bit funny in the movies.
He was definitely funny.
Kind of similar, but handled better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I don't know, you know, like the Chani thing, you know, maybe Benny can handle, but like the Chani stuff's quite different too.
Very. Yeah, let's talk about that, man. How about that?
You want to cover that one,
I'll
Benny?
start. let me just start with this comment, and somebody can just kind of pick up off of this. Like
well, it's not like I'm prepared to, you know, I've gone back and read the books and taken notes.
That's
I know for certain they handled some things quite differently. Hadn't they already had a child?
Yeah, Leto.
The end in the books, and
you know, first Leto.
They definitely handled, you know, like you know, in the end where Paul takes Irulan as a wife, like, you know, he definitely explained to her what the fuck was going on. I feel like in the book a little more, and wasn't just like, you know, we'll always love you, and then, you know, like, I will take you as my wife, like right after that, you know.
Right.
And as far as I understand it, you know, this was a creative choice by Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, but those are the differences. And I guess like circling back to Jamas's wife, Hara, I think her name was, like, there's multiple wives in the Fremen culture, and so Paul choosing not to take Hara as his wife, but choosing to take her as his, you know, servant because he had to do one or the other, indicates that like Chani would be less upset with Paul having multiple partners generally. And then yes, he very, very much, it was like, dude, I got to do this politically. Like, she's not going to fucking touch me. I'm not going to touch her. And Chani was just kind of like, fucking whatever. I feel like the choices here made much more sense through our lens of our culture. Like, you know, if someone were to do that to you, you'd be like, fuck you, bro, which is kind of like where Chani ended up. But yeah, the other piece being Leto. They had a baby, named it Leto, and then that baby was killed by the Harkonnens in the battle. And the kind of grief there, that was a missing piece.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if that was the first one or the second one. Okay, yeah, it just felt like Chani was like very much like kind of
fuck you,
like left out in the cold, yeah, and she was just like, you're a douche, and then, you know, at the end she's like, I'm gonna go find the biggest sandworm fucking
I'm fucking out of here, man.
Fucking planet, and fucking sucks.
It makes sense. I mean, I liked it. I liked it as a choice. Like, if you're gonna, I mean, it's the shit, you know, what's a fart when you shit your pants? Like, they've already changed enough. Like, fucking, okay, let's see what you do with it. Like, I was just trying to get myself out of my head when it came to the book stuff. So those bigger differences were like, okay, interesting. What are they going to do here?
Yeah, I mean, that didn't like slap me in the face so much, you know.
No.
Like, oh, okay, well, they, you know, she's mad.
Yeah. But I like that she slapped him in the face.
In how things pan out, you know.
Yeah,
it's like it kind of paints Tim Charlemagne as a dick, and she's mad at him, you know, instead of like sort of accepting the you know,
the reality of it,
the reality of the situation.
Yeah. And, you know, I like that she literally slaps him in the face when he comes back from his, you know, Jesus allegory, 3 days dead.
I don't remember her being so quite resistant to all of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, he doesn't. No one knows that he drinks the water of life in the books. So, like, there's the spice orgy the original Spice Orgy, where Chani is the kind of chalice maiden, for lack of a better term, to the water of life with the original Reverend Mother, and the Reverend Mother is meant to drink the water of life and transmute it from poison into a hallucinogen, and then everyone drinks the hallucinogen and literally has an orgy, and that's where Paul and Chani hook up for the first time, and then Jessica is just like in the film. She has to take the water of life and she has to transmute it because she's a Bene Gesserit who's trained she can. And then Paul has, at some stage, he takes one drop in his mouth and has to also do the same thing. But every male before him has failed. And so he ends up succeeding. And, where the Bene Gesserit wake up, they see all of their female heritage. Like they literally have all of the women in their ancestry in their brains, like speaking to them telepathically.
Right.
Yeah, right. Paul has all of the men in his line, which goes back to Alexander the Great. So it's like it's shit that's like completely lost in the film. I feel like it just, if you hadn't read the books and didn't understand the idea of that awakening, I think it would be really lost on you as a viewer.
That definitely didn't explain any of it.
No,
that wasn't what I really meant, though. What I was talking about was like Chani was very resistant to the idea of Paul taking up the mantle of
No, that's exactly what I thought you meant, dude. I was about to just say that before you did it, but 100%. She was like super aggro about it, and I was like, this seems like, I mean, again, like I'm not complaining. I just was like, wow, this seems like over the top aggro about this.
I liked it. I kind of liked it though. Like, I like that A, she was not a religious fundamentalist, and B, she says to him in this still tent there, she's like, I can't remember exactly the line, but it was like, I love you as long as you stay who you are. Kind of implying that she kind of sees the temptation of him changing into that, power grabbing leader,
And he's like, hey, you're going to love me when I'm a big fat worm.
That's it.
What up?
It's, I don't know. Because, like, again, the Fremen are all about power in terms of, like, you can challenge the leader to a fucking knife fight, and if you win, you're the leader. He would be tempted as a newcomer over time to become the leader. And I kind of liked that she recognized that and then was also, like, appreciative of his... she says that line to her friend at one point where she's like, he's not like other people from off-world. He's genuine, I think she said, something like that. And that like power structure thing would pull you away from it, And that was part of the frustration at the end. Is like he took power and she's just like, all right, man, you're different now. I don't know how I feel about this
now.
Instead, like this isn't over, So she wasn't like, we're breaking up, but she was just kind of like, I don't know what I think,
Sure.
It made sense to me in a way.
Yeah, no, I'm not knocking it, man. I'm just like I'm just illuminating differences. That's all, man.
Yeah, totally. Well, and that I suppose that is the difference. It's like in the books, it's Fremen culture is ABC, and then in this, Villeneuve artistically is like, let's put the Western cultural lens on it. And if this was your buddy and his girlfriend, the girlfriend would be pretty pissed at him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But that's they're pretty big differences, but. Not necessarily bad differences. Because, like, leaving out Toofer or leaving out little bits like Fenring, like, it doesn't change the tone of the whole fucking thing. But in this case, these kind of do change the tone. And Jessica being, like, Jessica being a major propagandist in this is quite different also from the books.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jessica's definitely more manipulative and, like, actively pushing this stuff more than I remember it being a thing in the books.
Which I dug.
Yeah.
But very, very different.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, I think shit. I lost my thought.
I mean, that's most of the big differences, and I personally am not gripey about them.
I got it.
But that's kind of the meat and potatoes of the big differences.
Well, here's my couple pennies on that. Like, I don't agree with the decision to leave out Thufir and Piter, because they're both in the first film. So they're established and we see them.
And they're the only men really.
Yeah, but the other bits, it's fine because, like we talked about in one of those James Cameron episodes that we did, his big thing is like, I think it's Cameron. Yeah, I think during The Abyss we were talking about it, how he's like, if you've got a bit that's not working, you got to cut the whole thread out. So there's just no trace of it. You know what I mean? So like, I like that thinking because then it's like, okay, you're not confusing the issue by throwing a little scene in here and then people are like, wait, what about that guy? You know what I mean? So I'm okay with that and not including certain elements like Count Fenring and some of these other things. But the Thufir and the Piter thing, I'm kind of like, and those are two favorite characters of mine in the books and in the original movie too, man. So, that was a bit of a bummer, dude, especially David Dastmalchian, man. I love that guy.
Yeah, the two of them are just so great. I mean, well, the other dude, I can't
they
remember
are.
his name. Debs,
the guy
was
from
amazing.
Yes, Debs, exactly. He was great, so that was a bummer. So that's what I think about that. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Another thing that might segue us into a 9-string balisette is this whole smuggler sub-thread was missing too.
Yeah, what was up with that? I was like, wait a minute,
just
what? Smugglers?
Yeah. So, like, Gurney ends up with some smugglers and is there for... Because you said it earlier.
That's where they meet him.
Yeah, they do, yeah. But it just, like, I suppose, like, there was just more to it in the
There
book
was more to it in the books.
Yeah,
but
I get it. I get why they cut it.
Yeah.
But I suppose, I think you said it earlier, Kev, with the timeline. Or no, but actually, sorry, when you were getting a glass of water, Benny mentioned it, like, the timeline is different. Like, this film takes place over the course of about 9 months because Aaliyah is not born.
Less than 9 months, yeah.
Yeah, versus, it's 3-ish years in the book.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And so, like, Gurney's with the smugglers for presumably a couple of years or a year and a half or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we get Aaliyah in the book, and we get like a teeny little glimpse of her in like a dream in this movie.
Yeah,
right?
as an adult too, which is
it.
quite different also.
And I was really hoping for even though it doesn't appear in the other movie at all, like we thought.
The grandfather thing.
I was really dude, grandfather. So that was interesting, and then there was something else that just completely ran out of my head. Wow. Okie.
But we did see a balisette.
We did see the balisette.
Yes. I was pretty pumped about the balisette. It was very short.
Hooray.
The only piece of fan service probably in the movie, but loved it.
Yeah, it was.
It's fucking Gurney Halleck, man. He's got to fucking play the balisette.
That's what I'm saying. But everyone was so upset, including myself in the first one, having it cut, that I think he was like, fine. Here's a balisette. Sorry.
Yeah. It's funny too because when you look back at the original Lynch movie, and it's like you got 2 hours and 35 minutes to tell this entire story, and they put that whole scene about the fucking balisette and everybody having tea. It's so funny to think about, dude. It's like if you're talking about cutting shit out, why would you put that in there?
It's great.
Like it's funny. I did think it was funny later when they or find Gurney, and then he kind of gloms onto them, and Johnny's like, basically, she's like, man, he's just fucking worthless. Look at him. He's like fiddle fucking with the tent. Can't figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
It's so funny, man. I thought that was funny.
I like Gurney. Gurney was interesting in here. The atomic stuff was interesting too. Like that's a little bit more spelled out in the books as to like you don't use the atomics. If you use the atomics, you basically everyone will kill you. All the other families will kill you. So
yes, I vaguely remember that.
That was a bit missing too.
All right, let's get out of this comparing it to the book shit because it's
we don't need to.
It's bogging me down, making me tired.
Yeah,
whoa, dude. All right, let's talk about what we loved, man.
I mean, the visuals and the audio, man.
Excellent.
I think it would be worth touching on. The visuals just fuck me, dude. Like they succeeded in building a universe here, big time, and the scale was there, and just all of the vehicles, all of the costuming, all of it was just so immersive that you didn't even think about it. So, major kudos there.
Yeah, where was this movie filmed? Do we know?
I heard it was Abu Dhabi, for some of it. Fuck, what are the other ones?
I wonder if they found Odie.
Maybe. Probably a Moroccan desert or...
Clearly not Garfield readers here.
I was a Garfield reader, but that went over my head. Yeah. That's a Garfield death. I should know better.
Garfield was always sending Odie to Abu Dhabi.
Oh man, that's...
Oh, there you go.
That's got... I will voluntarily take a death for that because I was a huge Garfield fan. It's been too long.
One of the number one ways to try to get rid of him.
I should have gotten that.
They'd put him in a box and try to mail him to Abu Dhabi.
I am so conflicted about Chris Pratt playing fucking Garfield, dude. Like, is that guy going to play everything in every movie now?
Dude, I don't...
I love Chris Pratt, but like, Jesus Christ.
Garfield? That's so dumb, dude. What?
He's Mario, too.
Just why?
Send him to fucking Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, it's got to be Bill Murray or Lorenzo music, you know? I mean...
Totally. Bill Murray fits perfectly.
Okay.
But in terms of the visuals, like, I don't recall other than Abu Dhabi, and there was a couple other desert spots, but fuck me, it was a good choice. And I guess, like, there was an interesting thing, if you'll allow it, a little digression in the visuals. There was a bunch of interviews with the DP, Greg Fraser, who, I don't know if you guys saw any of the stuff, so I'll just, like, summarize real quick, where he was instrumental in, creating the volume for Mando with friend of the show Favs, and he also was the DP on the latest Batman movie, the Reeves Batman movie.
The Batman.
And he worked with Villeneuve on these two Dune films, and Villeneuve was like, "I'm not interested in the volume. I want to shoot this thing in the fucking desert, in the actual desert." And they were also like, you've got to be practical about it. So like they were talking about the sandworm riding sequence, and it was like, we don't want any like cameras floating in the fucking air stuff. We want it like as if you were, you know, filming it on another sandworm, you know, so like the angles needed to be realistic from the perspective of people on dunes or whatever. And the lighting needs to be realistic as in we shoot it in the actual desert. And I think as a result of all of that, like it just is so much more realistic than the MCU style fucking 360 floating camera bullshit. So
I could not agree more, dude.
It was super fucking solid.
I really didn't know where you were going with that, but yeah, I'm glad you said all that because that's exactly right on. And it kind of leads me into a comment that I was going to make about the worms. Like I really liked the way the worms were done in this. They're such an integral part of the entire story, and I love how you see them, but you don't really see them. Like you see them come up and like take all the Harkonnen bodies, you know what I mean, for instance. And then like, you know, they chase Paul and Jessica in the first movie, you know, but it's kind of like evening time, you know, so you don't really get to see, you don't see like, you know, like in the Lynch film, there's, you know, you got to see so much of the worm, you know what I mean? And I like how they were kind of subdued about it, you know, like what you just said, like the perspective was always from like on another worm or on the top of a dune, or you'd see somebody whizzing by and it's like the worm isn't out of the sand, the worm is in the sand, but just the top of the worm where the armor on the skin has been peeled away, where they've rotated up, you know, as it was explained to, you know, protect it from the sand, is just that little bit is above the sand. You know what I mean? Not the whole freaking creature, because those things are gigantic. So I really liked that, and I really appreciated that. I mean, even at the very end, when they ride in on like 20 worms and surround all of those idiots, there's so much sand and shit blowing around that you don't really see them all the way out of the sand. You know what I mean? Like I like that. I really liked that a lot in this one.
Same.
You know, it kind of kept that little bit of mystery that I love, you know, like wanting for more, wondering what they look like. Like, I like that, man. I like feeling that way. Stories should be like that, you know? So I dug that for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I suppose, like, I didn't know how I felt about the visuals, and then when he said that he wanted it to be practical and, like, as if you were seeing them from the dune, I was like, oh, that makes sense why I dug it so much. Yeah.
Well done. Him and you, Chad.
Oh, thank you.
Benny, what do you got, man?
About what?
Visuals.
Like, what did you like? Like, what jumped out at you that you really dug?
I don't know that I like the you're in there sandworm thing so much. I mean, I liked the way that sandworms were handled in this, especially the the way the sand would turn liquid around them, that kind of shit. I talked about that in the last, in the first part podcast, but
sure.
The way the scene where Tim Charlemagne gets on the worm for the first time, the way that was handled was a little I don't know, you're in the fight kind of a thing.
Oh, Born Identity style.
Just a little too I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I don't know if I would say that I thought it was great. Just because it was so garbled, and it's you're in there, you're riding the worm, or whatever. And it didn't feel like I was riding the worm, and it didn't feel like I could really see what the fuck was going on either.
Sure.
I don't know. Anyways, I thought the combat stuff was very cool. I thought, a lot of the raids that they did on the spice harvesters, etc.,
that was cool.
The Fremen operations that were going on, there was a lot of it, and I think the very first scene where you see it all go down, I was like, yes! And then it happened 10 more times, and I was like, okay, I've seen it now.
Got it.
But the first time it happened, I was like, this is fucking amazing. There were fucking Fremen popping out of the dunes with fucking laser guns, and there's fucking missiles and all kinds of crazy shit going on. It was super cool.
Those super cool straws they had.
Yeah, snorkels.
The snorkels.
Sand snorkels.
Yeah, very cool. And I like their armor as well. I don't know if we talked about that in the first one or if we even got to see it in the first one, but the armor suits that they wore, they were really getting down with some battling, were really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there was lots of cool shit in there.
I wasn't particularly crazy about the Fremen suits, the still suits.
Really?
They seemed somehow almost too similar to, the 1984 Dune flick, and also updated in I don't know, the Batman or Bale Batman kind of tactical armor sort of thing that was just I don't know, it's kind of generic, not particularly interesting. The fucking, on the other hand, the updated version of what the Harkonnens were wearing,
that was sick.
Fucking super fucking cool.
Yeah, that
was
very
very interesting.
Cool. That opening,
it was definitely seemed like a bit of an homage to the Lynch flick. It was kind of similar.
Yeah, a little bit,
but also updated in a way that was cool. Whereas the Fremen suits were updated in a way that made me really just I was like, oh, it's Bale Batman. It's
right.
Tactical armor kind of generic thing that just, I don't know, didn't turn me on so much.
Sure.
Right. And just to add to that, the Fremen were, kind of different than the Lynch movie, just sort of swathed in all kinds of robes and stuff, you know what I mean? Which not that's a bad thing necessarily, but
no, it makes sense.
Just they made him look. Yeah, it does make sense from from a what's practical, right? And I do I always felt like the Harkonnen suits in the original movie were kind of like these weirdo hazmat suits, that kind of glowed around
totally
a little weird square window, It's just so funny, man.
Definitely somewhere between a welder's mask and a fucking
Thank you.
Like a hazardous waste fucking outfit, yeah.
Diving bell.
And that sort of did the same thing here, but in a little more of a it was more menacing and more, I don't know, it looked more like a real thing than just a rubber suit with a window in the face.
Right, but more functional as well. It was a good update because it kind of took the air out, right? As I was talking about last week, of that thing, right? So it was okay, so it's kind of bulky and it's kind of weird looking, but it looked like when you were watching it, you were like, okay, but this makes sense. The fan in the back and there's enough room inside the helmet area to breathe, but then the body parts are a little bit tighter so they can move and sword fight and do hand-to-hand combat. And then there's also those sort of repellers or whatever so they could fly. I thought were very, very cool, man. So yeah, I really dug that. Yeah.
Especially it being the opening shot, like the opening sequence. Like that was a really great re-entry into the universe. It's like super reddish tint on everything, kind of that battle stuff. And when the bodies, like when the Sardukar go up to the top with their suspensors and then they get shot and they just start falling through the fucking sky, like slamming down next to Paul and Jessica. It was really cool, man. That was a cool sequence.
You mean the Harkonnens?
Sorry, the Harkonnens, yeah. Super fucking cool.
We were so trained to say Harkonnen in the Lynch movie, and in this one it's Harkonnen, which is so a little bit different. Kind of interesting.
I've always thought of them as Harkonnens, but whatever.
Yeah, me too.
Well, it's supposed to be Chaney, evidently, but I think Chani sounds way fucking better.
Yeah, Chani is way better. So going back to what you were saying, Chad, about the visuals, like I also, this is a thing that I've said many, many times on this show. Like I really, you get a very good sense of where you are when you watch this movie. Like you can feel the desert. You know what I mean? I like movies where I can feel the environment. You know what I mean? In a sense, from watching it. And in this, you really get enough shots of the desert, and it's so gorgeous, man. Just the dunes and the way that they look and the way they shape and form and all that kind of thing. And I really got that sense watching this movie, contrasted with the stone as well and the rough parts, because the sand is very smooth, and malleable like water in a way, and then the stone is very, well, it's like stone, and then that is also contrasted against the inside of the stone, which is where all the sieges are, and the insides, the sieges and the stonework was just so,
it was amazing,
cool, man. Oh my God, it was like temples, but not temples, like clearly inspired by stone structures here on Earth, but just very, very cool. Very, like, it just fit, I thought, perfectly with what they had going on. You know what I mean? It fit into the world that he was creating very well.
Yeah, totally agree. Reminded me a lot of that iconic shit in Indiana Jones where, like, there's, like, the cave in the side of the mountain, but, like, the entrance to the cave is, like, a temple, like somewhere in fucking Turkey or whatever, like there seems to be a lot of that kind of style of stuff. I like that they pulled from that.
Like Darren Kuyu, man.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's not a lot to say on the visuals other than it just really helped envelop me and like I was just very much there, like that's really like something to be said for the fact that Arrakis felt like a real place. Like it felt very, very real. As opposed to, getting pulled out and realizing that it's a film, Like it was very, very immersive. And this, that's Arrakis. We haven't even fucking touched on the Getty Prime scene. Like I loved that. But
well, yeah, let's talk about that, man.
Loved it.
It's black and white.
But it wasn't.
He talk about going all
I know, but
black and white.
Effectively, it was.
Yeah.
Well, no. It wasn't black and white because he shot it that way. It was black and white because everything's black and white.
Well, it was black and white because the sun only shoots off that light, but it also wasn't black. It also wasn't black and white. It was infrared.
Yeah, right.
But I just think it was like there was like very, very subtle stuff where like the Baron is coming out from his interior into the arena. And in the interior, he's got some coloring to his skin. And then as he goes to the exterior with the actual sunlight hitting him, it goes to that black and white feel, which, like, yes, 100% it's black and white. But I just like that it was subtle and it was meant to kind of, like, imply that it was a sun thing, not a stylistic choice. Because it was a stylistic choice, but it was, I don't know. I really dug it.
I loved it.
It came through that way for sure.
Yeah.
Like, was that a thing from the book, or was that just?
Well, I think they talk about it being a black sun, so I think it might have just been the
like...
interpretation of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
But the interview with Greg Fraser, the DP, was saying Villeneuve went to him and said, "I want to shoot Getty Prime in black and white," and he's like, "Oh, actually, I've been fucking around with infrared because he did Zero Dark 30, and he's like, they had to do some infrared scenes for that. So he was like a former still photographer, and he was just like, I've been messing around with this for the last 10 years. I think we should do it in infrared. And they did some tests, and Villeneuve was like, yes, let's do that. So it was definitely an artistic thing, but they wove it in such a way where it seemed plausible in the world itself, you know.
Well, they did a great job with it because it looked phenomenal.
And like the obvious concern that they had was like, even with using white sand instead of yellow sand, it would have just looked like Dune. It would have just looked like Arrakis, if potentially. So there's the pitfall of that, and by having it so drastically different, it was obviously drastically different. So, but I really dug it.
There's already a heavily washed out kind of look on the Arrakis parts.
Yeah,
and all of the colors are very muted. So, like, while the only real earth tone in the movie is like the desert, the sand, and the sun in certain parts of it, but like in Arrakeen, even really on Caladan, you know, like it's all black and white and gray.
Muted,
like a lot of the movie is, and then you get the tans and like the rocks are kind of gray or black in for the most part, and on Arrakis, you know what I mean? So. Really interesting sort of non-color palette to work with, man, you know, or choice of colors to work with, however you want to put it, you know. I think he did a really great job with it. And the Gidi Prime part was great. It was like just the sun was so blown out and bright, and then like everything was black and white and had that like kind of brutalist sort of architecture, you know, kind of like in that we saw in like Total Recall, you know.
Yeah.
They shot in Mexico, you know.
Yeah.
Simple big slabs of shit, you know, and
yeah, it's definitely obviously pulling a lot from Giger as well, which makes total sense.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like they had sort of pulled from some of the little nod to the Jodorowsky, you know, Dune book that Giger did a bunch of the stuff for, like for the Gidi Prime. So
super cool.
There's that.
The I think like the biggest difference aesthetically, imagining it in black and white versus the IR, is the IR really like makes people look really fucked up. And they really did. Like the close-ups of it was awesome seeing Léa Seydoux. I love Léa Seydoux. She's great as Margot Fenring. And it was like super tight on her face, and like the IR falling on her teeth made her teeth kind of somewhat transparent, and they looked really fucked up. And it was just really, I don't know, it was really cool.
Yeah, and the way the Harkonnens had black teeth in this,
that was awesome.
Like really, whatever they had going on, like the mouth guard or something prosthetic.
Yeah, no, it was just like ink. That was a huge thing in Japan back in the day. I remember reading like old samurai shit, and like it was a fashion thing to like blacken your teeth and gums. And I really thought that was cool.
Well, it definitely was cool looking in this.
It's just so fucking weird looking, you know? Like, it's just simple way to make people look alien, you know?
You know what's kind of cool, too, was those, like, it was almost like fireworks, but they looked like splotches of liquid hitting, like, a glass.
Yeah. Like that was interesting.
Right? Wasn't that wild? Like, as, like, a celebratory kind of thing, you know? Because it was Fade's birthday, and it was, like, a big celebration, and, you know... I don't know. That was pretty neat. And the Colosseum itself, I like that sort of tri-structure it had, you know what I mean? Instead of like a classic circle, it was like, you know, 3, you know, smooth sides. And then just they kept showing the seating areas, man. It just seemed like they went up forever, man. So you just got such a great scope of the grandiosity of it. It was just very, very cool.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a cool sequence.
It is. It's a visual feast, corn of plenty.
Oh, and Fade, you know, Fade being introduced there, and like the scene with him and his slaves, and slices those girls' necks with the knife, and like there was some interesting stuff there too.
Yeah, psychopath. I'm on like this knife kick right now for some reason. I got back on the knives, and like so seeing those knives, I was like, ooh.
Knives chow.
How about that?
I was bummed. I was bummed, Kev, because like you and I were talking about Masters of the Air, the new Spielberg Tom Hanks World War II thing to follow up the Pacific. And Fade, Austin Butler, he's one of the main characters in that. So I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk to Kev about this. But then I realized that you haven't seen it yet because I haven't sent it to you. So I'm like, fuck.
Oh.
So he's he's one of the two leads in Masters of the Air, the Austin Butler, the guy that played Fade. So Austin Butler also did the Elvis movie, which I haven't seen yet.
Oh, wow.
He was Elvis. So
I'm very curious to see that so I can not hate that actor because the character is so detestable and he did
really
such a good job of making him a total piece of trash, you know?
Mm.
And so did Sting, to be perfectly honest with you. Sting had a sort of obnoxious way about him.
Sure.
I think in real life as well, and it really came through on camera. And there was something, even though that whole weirding way thing was not like a part of the book, like I did like that inclusion of it. You know, it was just cool.
The weirding,
and I really enjoyed
part of the book. The weirding module is not.
It's just not the weird.
Oh, the weirding. Okay. Well, there you go. So, it was very satisfying at the end of the Dune film, the Lynch film, when he uses the weirding voice to basically split the floor and his chest.
Yeah, totally.
I really liked that. It was very satisfying. I like the way that they did that final fight in this one too, but that was very satisfying.
That was great.
So, but not to get off track, he because we're on Fade, he was just he just psychopath, like just such a scumbag and a psychopath, and like just freaking killing people for absolutely no reason. Just awful, awful. All those Harkonnens, just awful.
They did a good job with the Harkonnens, I thought, though. Like I saw some people griping about the Harkonnens and this being like getting softer and getting dominated, you know. But I completely disagree. Like they were just so oppressive.
I totally disagree.
Yeah,
no, they did an excellent job with it. They were detestable, like that enough.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on board with the like Uncle Fester meets Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit kind of image that was going on for with them all being bald and wearing black and having like black eyes and shit. Like I don't know, it's a little like cartoony, bad guy, but
it was.
But whatever. I mean, it was all the actors were excellent, and I thought the way they portrayed them, and the way they behaved was perfect.
Yeah.
Uncle Fester meets what?
I don't know. I just remember the guitar player from Limp. Not that I ever was into Limp Bizkit. I just remember seeing a video where the guitar player from Limp Bizkit was like, wearing like a bald cap and like white makeup, and he had like black contacts in his eyes, and like like he sort of looked like Hellraiser.
Yeah, totally. Pinhead. I'm imagining you seeing that.
Like the fucking Harkonnens or like Cenobites or something. Like, I don't know.
Totally.
It's a little cartoony.
It totally does.
It's not terrible.
It was.
It's just a little. I
liked it. But yeah. I'm imagining you seeing Limp Bizkit from the as the fires raged around you at Woodstock, and that's what you're flashing back to.
Oh my god! And that guy with his cock.
Yeah, exactly.
I did
place is burning down. Dude swinging his cock around.
Dave Bautista.
Shark Ego's planning his exit strategy from that relationship.
Dave Bautista's smashing an ATM.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista. I really enjoyed
and screaming rats at the ATM.
Yeah, I loved that scene with him smashing that dude into the console. It was really intense, man. Like I don't know.
Oh my god,
it was really intense.
I don't know. You say what you want about Bautista, but he can bring it, dude, and I love it.
And, he's excellent.
And the boot kissing scene too. Like there was just some really great stuff.
Yeah. I agree with Chad about the Harkonnens. I like the way that they were, or Harkonnens were. I like the way they did them, but you're not incorrect, Ben.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah. Not to take away anything from the actor performances or from the writing that went on. It's the way they decided to portray them as sort of like,
visually.
Cenobites essentially.
Yeah.
Like, was a little on the nose.
And I liked the Baron. Like
a little bit, yeah.
I think the Baron fit the best of the bunch when it came to his look. I like the Baron's look.
I agree. And I'm glad we got to see more floating and then like the various floating medical apparatus that followed him around in his floating hookah and you know, his snack box, floating snack box, like whatever. Like he was perfectly done, you know. Just
Scars, man. They bring the fire.
And
those
weird hot dog fingered slave girls.
Yeah, totally. And like he is funny. He reminded me. I was watching it today. He reminds me of when he plays Gregor in Ronin. He's got a very similar kind of. Well, he's Russian in that, you know. It's a Russian character, but very similar kind of cadence to his speaking and so forth, and the attitude and whatnot. Anyway,
and Austin Butler as Fade really picked up on his accent too. Like they had a very similar vocal intonation because Austin Butler is not Scandinavian, so
Scandinavian.
But yeah, I dug the Harkonnen stuff. I really liked the it's a little bits and bobsy, but the scene where Rabin is gonna go out and kill Muad'Dib, and like that sequence where like they just fuck him up and he ends up running away. I really liked that bit.
What do you mean when they fuck him up and he runs away? What are you talking about?
So like he comes in, he's like smashing people's heads against consoles, and he's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go out and do it myself." And so they go out to find Muad'Dib, and they land, and they're like walking around silently. One of the Harkonnens shoots another Harkonnen, and then he screams Muad'Dib, and then all of a sudden the guys start disappearing. You know, like and then he kind of freaks out. Like Paul starts walking towards him, and he kind of freaks out and turns and runs away. You know, which is just kind of not normally how those sequences go in action-y movies, or certainly not like an MCU style movie. Like it would turn into some huge stupid fight sequence, and I just liked that he had that cowardice moment, you know, and then was like hanging out of the back of the ornithopter, and then one of the Fremen tries to kill him and stuff. Like it was just, I don't know, like the strength of Bautista and then the weakness of Robin was kind of cool. I kind of dug that.
Yes,
it was a cool little scene.
No, it was.
And it tied right into the bootlicking scene later, you know, like he's trying to be this big, tough psycho, but he actually is just a bit of a fuck up too, you
know? Indeed.
We should talk about the sound, man. Like
the what?
The sound and the music. Like I am a big fan of Zimmer's work here. It's I'm
a big fan of his work, period.
Yeah, but in particular here, like it's just, I think they did a pretty solid job of it being very, very alien-y. Kind of didn't sound like a traditional orchestral kind of score, and we're making their own sounds and stuff. And I really think they did a fucking solid job. I could do with a few less of the fucking girl's voice being like, "Oh, blah, 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 blah." It's like, all right.
I'm 100% with you there.
Enough of that shit. But
I am.
I watched the first movie and I looked at Chrissy Snaps like the fifth time that happened in the first movie, and I was like, I could do with about 70% less of this in the second movie. And I got it.
Yeah.
Like I only remember it happening like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
It was more space bagpipes, less.
Yeah, that's the one piece that I disagree with them on. It's a bit much, but other than that, it's pretty solid.
I agree 200%. It got to be too much, man. It was like there's just too much.
It's like the main theme, and it kept like the first movie. It kept popping like every like dramatic scene that would happen. It would like pop up. And I was like, okay,
got it.
I get it.
Yeah, exactly. We get it. So it's like it's the job of the filmmaker too to be like figure out a way to do the music that's going to accentuate it the way you want, but not fucking drive people to insanity too, man. I mean, there's so many movies with these like, and that one was like, it kind of sucked extra much because it's not even like catchy, you know what I mean? Like there's annoying movie bits, that get stuck in your head, but it's at least it's like kind of catchy.
Yeah, like Lord of the Rings,
like,
man. Dun, 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 dun. That's catchy,
right? Or like Back to the Future, you know, you know. So those things are like, you know, if it gets in your head, you're not like really wanting to rip your ears off, but like that was like, fuck,
yeah.
It's very dramatic, you know.
The rest
I get why they wanted to go with something like that, but the overuse of it, makes it annoying.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, oh, that is because it's too distinctive. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
it sticks out, got a sore thumb, and like if you use it all the time in a movie, it just like you're like, this again, you know. So they did a good job at like curbing it a bit in this one, I think.
Yeah,
and they you know, you can do variants of it too, man. You know what I mean, to kind of switch it up a little bit, but it's also very like kind of Middle Eastern, you know, and has those same kind of mechanics to it, and so it's kind of grating, to be honest with you, man. You
that
know?
particular theme,
overused.
I listened to the soundtrack a ton when I was working over the last couple of years, and like it's pretty solid.
I agree. Look, I'm with you, man. You know what I mean? I love Hans Zimmer. I like love his shit, you know, but like it was just too much, and they could have varied it. There's a lot of ways they could have handled it to make it less, you know. And it almost, if I'm being honest, man, like it almost made it too religious-y, fanatic-y, and Middle Eastern-y.
That's what they're going for, though. Like,
well, I get it, but you know, there's.
Well, it fits because the Fremen are Zen Sunnis. So
exactly.
The descendants of
descendants.
Well, that's fine. But the music was still too much. So forget everything else I just said. But.
To hammer you down there, like overall, you thought the music was too much, or just that one theme was too much?
Oh, I just like what Ben said. Like it's just it was. They should have just varied it a little bit more, maybe lowered the volume a little bit, you know, like switched up how they were doing it. It was just too much. The overuse of it was just like...
Because like using an analogy...
It was grating after a while.
It was just the overuse of it that really bothered me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I felt like, you know, like that played like after fucking...
Every moment, yeah.
After Paul Atreides took a shit or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, thank you. Exactly.
He comes out of the Fremen porta potty and it's like, da, da, da!
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody like bows down and it's like, guys, I just. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's so distinctive that when you use it too often, it just like, it's like, okay, I get it. You know, like it's just it's a little too much.
And my question, I guess, Kev, to you was like, if this is 12 tracks of a soundtrack and one of them is the fucking ba-ba-ba bullshit, is it just the one track that annoys you, or is it the broader album? Like that was...
it's just the overuse of that one track, because it's that one fucking sound that's like...
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. Because for a moment, I thought you were saying the whole thing you weren't into. So, yeah, cool.
And the other bits that I said, like, I forgot about all that Zen Sunni stuff. And you're right. You know what I mean? So, from that perspective, like, yeah, it should be like that. And I'm glad that he did lean into it. But that use of that one bit of music, it's like, no.
It's also, like, one of the least alien sounding things from them. You know, it's one of the more things that's grounded in our world, you know. So
versus like the Tuvan throat singing stuff that was in the Sardukar chants, you know, like even though the Tuvan throat singing stuff is of our world, it is very alien sounding.
You don't hear it every day, that's for sure.
That's for sure, yeah.
That's for sure, yeah. But all this, sorry, hang on one second, Ben. So like you know, a lot of this stuff, as we know from reading the books, like it's all evolved from what came here
20,000 years later, though. Yeah.
Exactly, which is like, you know, it's all good. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Benny.
I was going to say, I'm glad they didn't go with, there's just like a teaser trailer when the first movie was coming out.
Oh,
that had a Pink Floyd song.
Yeah, Floyd, yeah.
I was like, no.
Please, God, no.
No, you're not doing this.
Yeah.
Wait.
This is not fucking Iron Man with,
Even though I think what's his face? Yarowski, his version, he wanted to have Pink Floyd do the soundtrack.
Yeah.
But still, no.
Yeah, the original teaser trailer had what was that one? The Sun is Embraced by the Moon, I think, was the track. I enjoyed that as a teaser, but yeah, I'm with you. They definitely didn't need to fucking pop cultureify the movie with the soundtrack.
No. I mean, it worked for Flash Gordon. I don't know if it works for this.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, God, no. No way. Not for this. What else?
You were talking about the fundamentalist stuff. Like, I really enjoyed the leaning into the differences. Like this, the Fremen were not one unified body. They were like different factions.
Yeah.
I dug that.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, I like that too.
It's more realistic. It makes more sense,
Yeah, I like
another departure from
the
books.
But I think a good one. Like it's more realistic.
A good one. Well, and it works. And I think too, like I got a very like this sense of mystery about the southern hemisphere of the planet in watching these two movies, and I really like that too. It's kind of like, it's uninhabited, and then from the Fremen perspective, there's plenty of people living there. It's just difficult to get there, and it's it's very desert and very different, and everybody's fanatic. There was this kind of air of mystery about it that I really liked.
Totally.
And I thought it was cool that Jessica, got in a little palanquin and went there. It was like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
with her face tats,
it's cool. I like the face tats, dude. I definitely liked the face tats, and I liked the woman who was like sort of the keeper of the worms or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Getting that baby
that
worm.
Was cool.
I loved that whole sequence. Was fantastic.
Cool.
I loved it. She was a cool character too.
Definitely.
Very similar to the Lynch movie. They did the same thing in this one. I loved at the end when the sort of Grand Reverend Mother, Charlotte Rampling there, starts mouthing off to Paul after he does his fucking 20-something swagger into the palace there.
Yeah, and he uses the voice on her, yeah.
It is the most 20-something young guy swagger.
It really is, yeah.
Walking in there. I love the kid. Like, Tim Charlemagne, you're the man. Like, I really like him. And I think he did a fantastic job in, like, the transformation of going from, like, I'm not really sure, to, like all that shit was great, and he did a good job.
He brought the thunder, man.
Yeah, he did.
He did, bro. But that swagger in there, I was like, this. When I first saw him doing that, I was like, this is the most 20s swagger shit I've ever seen, dude. It was so fucking funny. And then what I was getting at was that when the Grand Reverend Mother starts mouthing off to him, and he uses the voice to shut her down, I was like, yes.
Yeah, dude, and there's like a little moment there where he's like, silence, and she's like, oh.
Yeah.
And then Fade just has this little eyebrow moment right after that, and I love his little eyebrow moment, too. Well, he doesn't really have any eyebrows, but his naked eyebrow
he has
moment.
no eyebrows.
Where his eyebrows would be. Yeah. It's, you kind of want to, like, Uncle Leo, like with like a thick Sharpie, some eyebrows on there,
You know that when Fade gets drunk, his slaves like Sharpie his face and stuff.
Totally, dude. But I liked how he used the voice and he silenced her. It was great.
Yeah, it was great.
She just fucking backed right down. It was good.
And that was another, like, just maybe this is a good reverse segue where, like, another place where the sound in the theater was just amazing was just how rumbly, like, the voice was in some of those moments where, like, watching it on a TV at home is just not going to bring that thunder. And man, I was enjoying feeling the sound a lot of this too. Like those voice moments were so fucking great.
Yeah, good comment. Yeah, the sound was good where I saw it too in the theater. It was enjoyable.
Theater sound is a double-edged sword for me because, like, it's cool in the theater, but when you're trying to watch a movie at home, it's the worst.
On like a 5.1 system, you mean, where it's like rumbly as fuck?
It's the fucking, or even stereo. Like, you can't fucking hear what anybody's saying unless you turn it up to oblivion, and then, like, the minute a song comes on or an explosion happens,
or the lady sings,
like everybody in your house wakes up, and you're like,
right,
like it's,
or you get a dose of the
yeah, no, exactly.
Your eardrums
so
would
loud
bleed
for that shit. It's Like that's what it was like watching it, watching the first movie before I went to see this. Like it was just like the difference between the dialogue parts and everything else is so gigantic.
Yeah. What else? What else do we love?
I think bits and bobs. Those bits and bobs, the good stuff.
Dude, we've been on bits and bobs for the last hour, bro. Just keep going.
Yeah.
we didn't cover Walken or Florence Pugh as the princess and the emperor. They didn't have much of a role here, but they were enjoyable. I dug them.
She reminded me of Abby Cornish, who I love, and yeah, she was in Sucker Punch and I think Drive as well.
Oh yeah,
I think. I'm sure you're looking that up on your Nerdtron. Yep. Anyway, yeah, really liked her a lot. And I like the way she sort of played it all out, and what are you going to say about Walken? I mean,
love me some Walken.
It's a spice. Yeah, Rackus.
Yeah.
I love that, for one, Florence Pugh, although I can't actually think of one example to say right now, but I feel like I've seen her in a million things of late.
Yeah.
And she's excellent.
Black Widow, she was the sister.
Yeah. There's one. Not what I was thinking of. But
No.
One. But Chris Walken apparently was very self-conscious about taking this role. He's like, what? How am I going to play like the Emperor of the Universe? I'm like, it's this kid from like Queens, I'm like, basically, they're like, don't worry about it. We'll treat you like that, and then you'll act like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that was sort of the way it went down, but he was very uncomfortable with playing royalty. Like it just, because he's like, I'm just some schmuck from
just
Queens, like what the fuck? Yeah, I'm just a schlub. Like I'm not, I'm the furthest thing possible from royalty.
I saw that quote too. Actually, that was really super interesting. Where it's like, royalty is a mirror. It was like a mirror of image or a mirror of opinion. Where it's like it's not you being the emperor; it's everyone treating you like the emperor that makes you the emperor. I thought that was really interesting, for sure. Super interesting because it makes total sense.
It worked. It worked.
Yeah,
it worked. He was, he's always excellent. I think, and we love to read him, and he's very
impressionable.
He does his Christopher Walken thing, and it is what it is, but I love it, and it's great. And I thought I was psyched when I heard he was cast.
Yeah, me too.
I enjoyed his performance.
And there wasn't a lot of them here, but it was probably the right amount for the story, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Florence Pugh, I mean, you're probably thinking maybe of Oppenheimer, but also Little Women and Midsommar. I haven't seen Midsommar. That was kind of her big break or whatever. That was crazy.
Yes. Yep.
Midsummer Night's Dream?
No, it's like a weird horror movie or some shit.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that in her little lineup here.
It's not spelled Midsommar. Sommar.
Oh, yeah.
But she was solid as fucking Oppenheimer, dude. Like, I really enjoyed Oppenheimer. If you guys have seen that one yet.
I haven't seen it.
But I was wondering how they were going to handle the Emperor because, you're just so balls deep in the lady screaming in your face on Arrakis that it's like, how are you going to cut to another tone, another scene, And I liked they used some of the sequences with the Emperor and Irulan as like the way to transition into Getty Prime, for example. Like it was cool.
Yeah.
Some good transitions.
Definitely.
Good filmmaking all around.
Definitely was. Yeah. Top notch, man. Top notch.
What else? It probably was somewhat intentional, but like the fetus of Aaliyah developing in the womb was very 2001 Space Odyssey-esque a little bit. There was some really cool like sequences there with the spice hallucination stuff. I like those scenes.
Yeah, me too. I almost think there wasn't enough of that, he chose to lean in certain directions, man, and
I don't feel like it was trippy enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's what I mean.
That's
what I mean. It wasn't like they didn't really talk about like they talk.
It's like a movie that is about psychedelics where the director has no idea what psychedelics are.
Yeah, that might be the case here.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, they there's a little scroll at the beginning, not a scroll, but like, a text scroll at the beginning of the first one talking about the spice and why it's important, but it's very short. And like, they don't really get into the whole like spice is life, spice is in everything thing from the book,
Then it makes you semi-immortal and stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the eye coloring and, all of this, the hallucinogenic properties and like the life-giving properties. And like, I mean, that's so important to like the entire economy of this world, this microcosm. You know what I mean? So that was a bit of an odd leave out or diminish,
And similarly, they kind of really left out the prescient stuff. Like, I don't know, it was intentional. It probably was, but Paul essentially becomes a fucking demigod. Like, I don't feel like that was really overly explainlead.
No,
but yet it's still, they still use it as like the plot device. They still use it as like a leverage point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's not a god like his son is a god, but he's pretty fucking close to it.
No, the spice being important to the world, they still use it, despite not really explaining it. They still use it as nor involving the guild at all, which is really the
it's a driving.
Like, no spice, no space travel is really the main thing.
Yeah,
right.
Like,
but like it's
you could essentially you could change the title from No Spice, No Space Travel from Dune.
There you go.
Oh, that's kind of the point, which sort of was used, but wasn't very well explained.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
It's really just in that initial couple-minute montage in the beginning of the first movie, like you said, Kev.
Yeah, and I mean, and like Ben said, we're constantly reminded that this is a thing that everybody needs. Like, we got to fill all these canisters every 25 days. There's like, oh, this harvester broke down. Oh, we lost another harvester. Here's a harvester. Hey, let's rescue these guys from the harvester. What the hell are they digging up? And what does it do? And go beat your kid.
Yeah, I'm gonna go beat my fucking kid.
Go beat your kid.
What?
Oh shit.
Anyway,
Chad, are you done beating your kid? What the hell?
Yeah, sorry. They're just bored.
No, it's all right. All right. So
last bits and bobs. Any other final bits and bobs?
Yeah, no. Whatever I have, I'm not. Go ahead.
I was going to say I like that. I thought the whole Jamis arc in the first movie was really well done in comparison to any other representation where they actually made you feel it. I just thought it was great that they brought him back for
moments. Yeah.
For moments in this, and and that like Paul literally like called on him, when he needed help to figure some shit out. Like, I just thought that was cool.
It was interesting for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Is also something that might be a departure from the books, but I just thought it was interesting. Like, I thought it was cool in the first movie that he had visions of Jamis and like him being the one teaching the ways of the desert, and that like it's sort of like calling that back in this like made it more real, Just thought that was cool.
Yeah, totally, man. Good bit. I was just gonna say not as cool as Ben's bit, but just we talked about this I think in the first one. I'm sure just the like the parade grounds of like the rows and rows of troops and ships, and like I just loved all those giant ships like lined up on the field, and then like the Emperor's ship coming down, and it's like a total like chrome sphere, and you can like see the reflection of the city as it passes over, man.
That was cool, yeah.
And it lands on that pyramid, like it was just very, very cool. I just like that, and like, of course, when the worms all come in at the end too, it's pretty cool visual too. But yeah, just that.
Yeah, those worms coming in at the end is very iconic in the books, and then
totally
really well handled here. I think I went and saw it a second time in the theater.
You did?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw it a couple days ago, and
wow.
all of the things I've said so far were kind of like my first viewing, and then I just wanted to go back because I was so in my head about it, and I was like, I need to pull a Benny here. I need to like accept it for what it is, and I tried really fucking hard, and I still kind of couldn't, but like the second viewing was I was much more like, holy shit, that scene is so great. For a few sequences, and like the sphere flying over and landing, and then the sandworms riding in at the end, like it was just like, fuck me, like it's just such an epic sequence. Like there were just some really epic sequences in this movie, man. So it was nice to be able to see it again.
Stuff really well.
Yeah, they really
like
did
those big,
and it wasn't
the scene was epic. Then it was epic. If what it called for. It delivered, like the way they did it delivered.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I mean, maybe the tech is different nowadays, but like I found the kind of the opposite to be the case with like Jackson's Lord of the Rings, where like he was just such a battle nerd that he just wanted to do more battles, and like, so there were similar scenes of like zoomed out tons of armies and stuff. But I don't know. I just felt it was kind of just didn't have much going for it. Whereas this, I agree with you, Kev, like in both movies, there's different scenes with just the scale of the ships and the scale of the troops was just bang on, dude. Really, just really, really, really solid. So yeah, I agree.
Well, I think you get a really good sense of that in the books, like. So I don't know. It was just nice to see it. That's all.
Yeah, and there was somebody
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't. I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, there was somebody that commented like on some YouTube video somewhere about the scale, and some of the scenes like planet like orbiting or like the moons or the suns, and it was like really, really zoomed out, or like the ships would come in like the Guild Navigator ships, and then these teeny little specks would come out of them, and those specks would be the gigantic ships on the ground. Like there was just something about the scale that was handled really well too. It really reminded me of that super old school, sci-fi art stuff. So that was really amazing too.
I like the whole like the way technology is in the Dune stories, based on what's happened in the past, with machines. So, and I appreciated the way it was. I appreciated the way it was portrayed in these two films and in the Lynch movie as well.
Yeah. It's a cool world where it's like feudal and there isn't much tech.
The Landsrad. Totally.
It's not cool, but it's makes for good fiction.
That's what I mean. Yeah. We touched a little bit on Chani and the differences, and just like shout out to Zendaya. She would I liked the differences in the character here. Like I liked the changes that were made, and she disappears in the book. She disappears in kind of from the halfway point of the first book until basically Messiah. Like she just kind of disappears. She goes into the desert, has a kid, the kid dies, and she's sad, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus this, which I think I like that they did more with her. I like that she's, realistically grumpy about Paul marrying another lady and becoming the emperor of the fucking universe. Like it's reasonable that she's like, I didn't sign up for this shit, but I like, she did a great job.
Yeah. And I like the way that they made her sort of like a grounding force.
Yeah.
Exactly. Somebody that's like trying to tether Paul,
Yeah.
And the viewers into reality, and everybody into reality. I like
and she's a non-believer too, which I liked. I like that, she was one of the people that's like, I don't believe in this prophecy bullshit. You're a bunch of Bene Gesserit propagandists. Fuck you. It's like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm with it, man. I think and just to contrast that, I very much enjoyed the dynamic between Kyle and Sean Young in the original movie, man, and how you really got a sense of this really kind of super deep love, and there was an intimacy there as well that I think was very, very cool. So I like that too. Nuggets deaths ratings.
There are a couple of nuggets. One was very in fitting with this show, where Babs Dill Pickle was considered for Margot Fenring, which I thought was cool.
I love that, dude.
Normally I don't give a shit about that kind of stuff, but I love me some dill pickles.
Elizabeth Debicki.
And then there was like a couple of things that might be more in your wheelhouse, Kev, just in the sense that they're technical stuff. Like I saw there's some really great interviews with Greg Fraser, the DP, and Villeneuve and Zimmer. And like they were talking about how like Villeneuve he does this kind of first few edits silently with no dialogue and no sound, so that it doesn't like the kind of audio stuff doesn't like taint his approach to the first cut. And then similarly, the DP was saying that he color grades with no sound as well, or sometimes color grades in black and white and then brings the color in. I think there's some really interesting technical stuff in there that was kind of cool.
I like that.
That's surprising.
And then there was a good interview with Zimmer and Villeneuve where both of those guys are huge Dune heads. And the interviewer was talking to him about what it's like to adapt the stuff that's, that you worship as a kid, And so there was just like an interesting moment in there where they're sitting together, Villeneuve and Zimmer, and Zimmer says, he's like, we went and had dinner somewhere, we're sitting at a table, and like turns to Villeneuve and is like, between us, are we meant to tackle our childhood dreams? Are we destined to fail? And so like, I feel like it was an interesting moment because like they're like us in the sense that like they worship at the altar of the source material and recognize the kind of like potential for fucking it up. And I think like through that lens, like I think that this is the best Dune movie that can be made. Like if Zimmer and Villeneuve and all of the crew and people, if this is it, like I just don't know how you can make it any better. Like I agree that you could add 5 minutes here or there or like whatever, but like this is the best I think we're going to get. And I feel like it's the best adaptation that you can get, like, because it's kind of impossible source material. Like the fucking books, half of the books are inside people's heads, with the internal dialogue. So it was just interesting that they acknowledged that in that interview. So it's not really a nugget, but it kind of is a nugget, and I appreciated it.
Yeah, that's very good.
And it's also dangerously
director of photography that wasn't afraid of the saturation knob, but
fair enough.
It's also dangerously close to being a whole 25-minute topic of discussion.
That's
which we're not going to do right now.
We don't have the
which is like if there's some sort of like quasi nugget death that might qualify, but we're not going to explore that tonight. Anyway, very cool. I like that. This movie, I have two quickies. This movie was released on the same day as the 1984 version, which I thought was
that's cool.
Yeah. Very surprised to see that.
To be clear, I still love the 1984 version.
Sure.
Nobody said you didn't. Sorry, the 40th anniversary of the 1984 version.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right? And I will always love that. No, hold on, one more. Stellan Skarsgård took him. Man, this is dedication. 8 hours to get into that makeup and 2 hours to get out. And he took Imodium so he wouldn't have to go to the bathroom while he was made up.
That's crazy.
So 8 in, 2 out. That's 10 hours in a day.
That's nuts.
Some of those shoot days get long. Anyway, deaths are short and sweet.
Yeah. What do we have? I had a
delightfully dead, and then you and I had a CK1 death. We had the Garfield.
That was a well-deserved death. I should have known that one.
I know, me too. I've watched enough Garfield cartoon and read it enough that I should have known that. Ratings. What are we doing about that? I know Ben's out. What about you, Chad? Participating or not?
I had this one at the first movie ended up at a 6.3. Which is in really good territory.
Too low, even for your algorithm, bro. Sorry.
Yeah, I think part of the 6.3 was that it was, at the time, I considered it half a movie. Like, it's not, but, like, I think these two together form the head.
Form Voltron, yeah.
Yeah.
And I will form the head.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I ran into a Reddit user the other day on Reddit that his name was Cobra la 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 la. I thought that was great.
Get the fuck out of here, dude.
I almost wrote to the guy, actually. I feel like, I don't know, man.
Edit wherever he can.
Let's go find him. This one, I think this one will climb. like almost all of the movies on the algo that are not like obviously excellent films drop numbers over time. I think this one's going to climb. So I think this one for me is like in the Children of Men kind of space, V for Vendetta, Dunkirk, all that kind of stuff. At a 6, I'll say it's a 6.6. And I expect it to climb. I think I really do need like 10 more years and 20 more viewings of this, I think, to really kind of understand how I feel about it. And I'm optimistic. I loved the visuals. I love the attempt. I like that the guys that made it were huge fans of it. And yeah, unlike Jackson's Lord of the Rings, like I'm pretty stoked with how it went. And I think it's the best we can expect. And I still kind of feel like it proves that it's not really possible to adapt something and retain kind of all of the bits, but it's pretty fucking solid, so that's kind of where I end up.
Right on, brother. Very groovy, very righteous. The only thing I'm going to say, as I meant to say this earlier, you said the same thing. I think, this movie will mature, and like after I watch it more in 5 years, I'll like it more. But like we've already had 2 years or whatever since the other movie, man, and you liked that,
It's gone up in my esteem.
Yeah. No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just saying like it hasn't degraded. We haven't thought ill of it in that 2-year time span while we've been waiting for this sequel to come out. So I think that's a really good sign. That's it.
Sure.
My rating, I mean, I'm just going to give it a 9.98, dude. Like, it's so good. And
nice.
I mean, sure, there's like departures from the book and little minor annoyances, like that dumb song, that woman, whatever that is. Like, I don't, it's not enough to diminish, like, I gotta be honest with you. I'm a little biased, man. Like but not biased about Denis Villeneuve. Like I love this guy, dude. He's made in a sea of
in a world where movies are quasi shitty
en masse, right? Like there's a lot of garbage out now, which is amazing considering how much content there actually is. And this guy's easily made some of the best science fiction movies in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Arrival and Blade Runner and this and like Sicario. Like it's not sci-fi, but still he's so good. I'm a little bit biased, but those minor annoyances are only enough to drop it down 2 little tenths of a decimal point. It's so good. It's just great. I can't wait to go see it in the theater again. I'm going to go see it in the theater again next week.
Yeah, totally, dude.
And I already asked Umba if he had a copy. So that's it. It's great. C-Lab, what are we doing next week?
Benny, are you abstaining from any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's good. Go see it.
Nice.
There you go. Nice, Norm. What are we thinking of?
We don't have anything locked in, but we did talk about Close Encounters as one of the next couple. Is that vibing for anybody?
Only not vibing in that we've done a lot of like. I feel like we've done a ton of older things like that recently, but whatever.
We've got on the list here that we've talked about recently: Close Encounters, Inglorious Basterds, Don't Tell Her It's Me, the Gutenberg as an Australian dude, Sling Blade. Shit like that. I'm down for whatever, honestly. I don't mind.
Thank you. Let's do Inglorious Basterds, man.
Yeah. I don't mind. You down with that, Benny?
Sure.
All right, great. Wow, Inglorious Basterds. That's that great movie that everybody loves. So, we're excited for that. Well, thanks, folks, for tuning in for Dune Part 2. And I'm Kev saying so long.
See ya.
Bye.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode, folks. If you would like to check out the show notes for this episode, you can on our website at ebd.fm/episodes/246. If you'd like to support the show, hold on. First, I want to thank everybody for supporting the show and listening and sticking with us below these many years. Thank you. We appreciate it. And we love all the interaction and feedback, too. I actually think about it all the time, and I really, really appreciate it. So thank all of you. And if you would like to support the show, if you're a new listener, You can do so on Patreon, patreon.com/EBD podcast. You can tell your friends to check out the show. You can rate us. And yeah, that's about it. Also, social media. We're on there on Instagram at EBD podcast. So come join in on the conversation if you like. And that's about it. Thanks for joining us for Dune Part 2. We'll see you next week for Inglorious Basterds. So long for now, folks.
Episode, everybody dies.
Beady, beady, beady. Theater sound is a double-edged sword for me because, like, it's cool in the theater, but when you're trying to watch a movie at home, it's the worst.
On like a 5.1 system, you mean, where it's like rumbly as fuck?
It's the fucking, or even stereo. Like, you can't fucking hear what anybody's saying unless you turn it up to oblivion, and then, like, you know, the minute a song comes on or an explosion happens,
or the lady sings,
like everybody in your house wakes up, you know, and you're like,
right,
like it's,
or you get a dose of the
yeah,
no, exactly.
Your
It's
drums
so
would
loud
bleed.
for that shit. It's like that's what it was like watching it. You know, watching the first movie before I went to see this. Like, it was just like the difference between the dialogue parts and everything else is so gigantic. And like the you know, like I watched like a YouTube video about why can't anybody hear anything anymore, and it was basically just like an apology for the industry.
Yeah,
like it was just such bullshit. You know, it was like, well, you know, if they turn this up, then they just, you know, like, then you lose all the dynamic range. And it's like, no, I think we could probably come up with something that's a little more towards the middle of things, and it wouldn't be like, you know, quite so fucking dramatic, but it's still dramatic enough.
Or at least
like,
mix it differently for the home media, you know?
Yeah, why the fuck can't there be two mixes?
It's been done. We've
like,
seen
it's really
it,
expensive.
so.
That was the excuse for that one.
It's like, yeah, well,
dude,
what's another $1 million after you spend
like,
200?
You don't make enough money?
Yeah, exactly.
As you would say,
dude.
what is
Come
another $1 million after
like,
you have shit your pants?
That's it.
Like, you know, it's great. It's great when you're like, you know, when you're in a theater, or like if you're watching a movie in the middle of the day and you got a bunch of people over and you have like a big sound system. But like when you're just watching something on like a 2.1 system and like it's 10 o'clock at night and your fucking roommate is sleeping, it's like, you know, I don't know.
It's pretty heavy duty.
It's ridiculous.
No,
like it's just because the difference is so fucking gigantic, and it's only gotten larger and larger as things have gone on. It's like, you know. Anyways.
Well,
that's true, man. I
mean,
remember when the 5.1 style cheaper surround sounds came out, you know, 20 years ago, and everyone was grabbing them, and like it was fun, but it's too fucking noisy. I can't really handle surround sound at home. I just find it too.
I can't
loud.
deal with that. No.
Like I appreciate
number one
for what it is, but it's just, I don't know. It's just too loud. I don't enjoy being that loud at home.
No, nor do I. I don't like annoying people with
like,
loudness.
You don't have a home theater in your basement with like, you know,
no, I don't.
Seats in just the right place and you know, fucking 20 speakers and no, you don't have that?
No. I don't.
No, I don't. Pretty sure most people don't, but whatever.
If you do, you, man. Like, yeah, go for it. I just don't want to fucking shake the house.
No, I don't understand why the standard for a release is that.
Yeah, exactly.
Know? And then like, you know, but nobody has that. So it's like the movie is only mixed for release in the theater, and then everybody else is just fucked.
Let's just deal with it.
Well, I mean, look, firstly, that was probably the best rant you've ever done.
That was good.
I'm going to give it a 9.
I'll put a link to that video. I'll find that video and put a link to it. And like, it was so annoying because the end of it was like, well, maybe just don't worry so much about not being able to hear the dialogue. And I'm like, what? Like,
don't forget to like and subscribe. You're like, I'm driving to your fucking house to slap
like,
you, man.
What the fuck? You know, like,
yeah, really.
I forget who did it. It was like Wired, or you know, it was like it was like a legit publication, like, and it was literally just like an apology, you know, like an apologist thing for like why they, you know, I was expecting it to be like, oh, is there some solution to this that I can figure out from watching this video? You know, like, is there like some software I can download?
Turns out you're wrong, Benny.
Yeah, some way I can do things? No, you're wrong. And maybe you should just, it's like Apple telling you you're holding it wrong, like,
oh my God. Like, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm done.
I love it.
Are you sure, man? You got a little more? You want to barf?
I like it. Keep going, man.
I'm gonna give it a 9.7.
That was
as far as
on the Richter scale.
Rants go on this show, dude. Totally.
That was great
on the gripe scale. And then I had another. I had something there, and then I lost it on your little follow up.
I'm sorry.
Explosion. No, don't be. It'll come back to me, I'm sure.
Hang on, I got a kid at the door again.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Intruder alert. Doubly so, to your comment about the sound, because like, all these young people, and I mean, not just the young people, but I would say the younger people are more prone to it. I certainly do it, man. Like if I don't have the time to sit down, you're watching it on your phone, man. So why wouldn't you make the mix different, for these smaller screen setups, man,
Totally. Let's not make it so you can watch it on your phone in fucking portrait mode, though, because I have a feeling that's next.
Well, fair enough. But
suddenly movie theaters are going to be like really narrow and the screen's going to be like really fucking tall.
Oh, God.
Are you talking about the IMAX?
No. I just said what I said was it's doubly so to Ben's point, because certainly most young people, and I know that I do it too. Like if I don't, like, look, the convenience of being able to watch something on your phone while you're going around and doing things in your home, like that was something that I was looking for, like, 15 years ago, right? And it wasn't available. So, like, but younger people and to a lesser degree, older people are watching more things on their phones and tablets. So why would you not make the mix different for smaller sound, audio hardware setups? The best thing to do, if you can get a TV that supports, I can't remember what it's called, Dolby
Atmos.
Something. Yeah, that's it, Atmos. And then you've got, and the movie was shot in it. Like what I used to do when everybody was here, the six of us were here, is that I would just connect either my wireless headphones or my Bluetooth buds to the TV, and I just sit and watch stuff. And it's infinitely better than just the TV speakers or even a sound bar for that matter. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that whole sound thing is. I don't know why it didn't annoy me on this movie, but it's annoyed me on all
because you saw it in the theater,
movies, man.
Like they make it for the theater. Like Villeneuve doesn't give a fuck about your TV.
I get it, but I get that. But I watched the first one, and I don't think I saw the first one in the theater, but I watched it on the television, and the sound didn't bother me. I didn't find that the volume was blown out on that. It wasn't like so obnoxious that I was just like, "What the fuck?"
It's just a different experience.
I guess.
But all I was saying was like Villeneuve doesn't give a fuck about you watching it at home. He only wants you to watch it in the theater. And I wish that he did give a fuck. Like
he should give a fuck, because 99.99999% of the viewing of these movies is going to be at home.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Like I totally get that they love the theater and they want to build a movie for the theater. That's fine. But also, to your point, everyone watches it at home as well. So, like, it just would make sense to have at least a couple of mixes, or optimizing it for those different mediums. But
yeah, no.
Here we are.
Here we are, moving on to another topic.
Well, and maybe just to wrap that up, like, they don't even want us to watch it in a theater. They want us to watch it in a 70 millimeter print version of IMAX. There's 10 fucking rolls of it. There's 10 versions in the entire world. Only 10 theaters are showing the 70 millimeter print of this movie, and that we all need to line up and go to that. You know, it's unrealistic.
Well, hey,
go fuck yourself.
Maybe it is.
That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say to these auteurs. You know, like just get fucked.
I'd like to see it, but at the same time,
fucking Zack Snyder and his fucking 4:3 black and white version of fucking just fuck off. Just go fuck yourself.
Wow,
I love it, dude.
Well, look, I don't know. I appreciate that, you know, there are people and filmmakers that want people to like get back.
Oh, I would love to see it in 70
I think
mil,
that's a great thing. No, I'm not even talking about 70 mil. I'm just saying, like, I think it's great that they're pushing for that. But you know, on the other hand, we just went through the whole rant, so I don't need to repeat it.
No, let's do it again.
No, let's get off of this. This is too whatever, hyper negative, and we spent way too much time on it.
It's all good.